How's everyone? So, I'm very privileged, very happy to be here. Daron Lipstein, very gracious host, and his lovely family. And all of you, it's great to see all of you today. So I think in the next hour or so, I hope we can get in touch with ourselves and understand a little bit more about what is reality and how do we know what reality is. So let me start with a short story that will give you a little glimpse of what I'm going to talk about. So about 5 years ago, I wrote a book called God, A Story of Revelation. And the book is about the history of how human beings have thought about the nature of existence. So the first chapter of the book is the story of Job, which I think everybody knows here, right? How many people have heard the story of Job from the Bible, right? About the nature of human suffering and why do we suffer. And then the book traces the history of human thought for about 2,500 years. And it tracks the movement of thinking about existence, about God, about our own nature, and goes through the insights of great seers, the Kabbalists, Adi Shankara, and many others. And it ends with a conversation between Einstein and Rabindranath Tagore. So you probably, everyone knows who Einstein was, but Tagore was an Indian poet, Indian sage, and Einstein and Tagore had a meeting in 1930, before the Second World War broke out, and Einstein was still living in Germany. The meeting took place outside of Berlin, and basically the argument that they had, it was a conversation, not the argument, but it was about what is the nature of reality? Is reality what we see through our senses, or there is a more fundamental reality that allows us to experience the world? So I think if you've read anything about Einstein, he is known for a very famous statement, the moon would still be there if no one was looking. That the world is independent of you and me. And to which Tagore responded, he said, the moon that we experience is a moon that is experienced through human consciousness. There's no such thing as the moon. You need this brain, you need this consciousness to experience the moon. Anyway, they had a very interesting conversation, and when I read that conversation, I thought we should track the history of human thought, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So 5 years ago, when I wrote this book, I was traveling in the United States, and one of the stops in my travels was Los Angeles, where my son Gautam lives. And he picked me up from the airport with my then 5-year-old grandson, whose name is Gautam, which means the enlightened one. It's the first name of the Buddha. So Gautam and my grandson Krishan picked me up, and as we were coming out of the airport, my grandson, who was then 5 years, he said to me, he asked me, Dada, Dada is the Indian word for grandfather. He said, what is dark energy? Which is a very interesting question coming from a 5-year-old. And I said, well, what do you know about dark energy? And he said, it flows through the night sky, which is a very interesting, beautiful way to describe dark energy. I said to him, what else do you know about dark energy? And he said, it's 70% of the universe. So I'm thinking to myself, does he know all this? As we get out of the airport and we're driving in Santa Monica, and we go past the ocean, and he looks at the ocean and he says, "How did they make the ocean?" I said, who make the ocean? And he said, "They." I said, "That's not a precise question. What do you mean by they?" And so I saw him thinking for a little bit. Then he reframed the question. He said, "How did the ocean get made?" So, intelligent little boy. I said the ocean got made the same way as the Earth. A giant star exploded, and we are a part of that explosion. And the Earth is one planet amongst many in the solar system, and the ocean is part of the elements of the planet. And then I turned back to him and I said, do you know how many planets there are in the solar system? And he said, "Yeah, if you count Pluto, there are 9. But if you don't count Pluto, because a lot of people don't think Pluto is a planet, then there are 8. So I said, "And where did the solar system come from?" He said, "From the galaxy." I said, "Do you know the name of the galaxy?" He said, "Yeah, Milky Way." I said, "Where did the galaxy come from?" He said, "From the universe." So then I asked him, I said, "And where did the universe come from?" And he said, without a pause, he said, "From another dimension." So, I've been thinking about this material for 35 years, and this little 5-year-old kid, he summarizes it in 2 minutes. So because I'm Indian, I think, who's this kid? And it's Galileo, Copernicus, Einstein. So I turned to him and I said, "How do you know all this?" And he said, "It's on my Pokemon." Okay. Well, I share this story with you for many reasons, but the most important reason I want to share it with you is that if you look at the science today about what are the open questions in science, what are scientists wondering about, there are many open questions, and you can go on the internet, you can do a Google search, etc., and you'll find that the number one open question, open means still looking for answers, is what is the universe made of? What is the universe made of? And the reason it's an open question is precisely because of my grandson's statement. 70% of the universe is a mysterious force, that's all we can call it, called dark energy. And the space between galaxies is expanding right now, as we speak, faster than the speed of light. The space between galaxies is expanding faster than the speed of light. So scientists have come up with a mathematical way to explain that there must be some dark energy. Nobody has seen that energy, because it's not like the usual kind of energy that Einstein described, E is equal to mc squared. Okay, it's just an anti-gravitational impulse, which Einstein actually called the cosmological constant. So that's 70% of the universe. That leaves 30% of the universe that has to be accounted for. And of that, 26% of the universe is another mysterious entity called dark matter. Dark matter because it's invisible. Can't see it. And the reason it's invisible is that it's not made up of atoms. So everything that we know is made up of atoms. Your body is made up of atoms. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, other elements of the periodic table. This microphone is made up of atoms. This room is made up of atoms. The stars and galaxies are made up of atoms. Trees, everything that you know on the planet is made up of atoms. But dark matter is not atomic, so we can't see it. And not only can't we see it, we can only interact with things that are made up of atoms. We are made of atoms. It doesn't reflect light, it doesn't absorb light, it doesn't emit light. It has no interaction with light. So what is it? We don't know. Why do we call it matter? Because matter usually refers to things like this, like this. So why do we call it matter? Because, again, according to modern cosmologists, it explains mathematically the force of gravity that holds a galaxy together. So, planets go around the sun, and a galaxy is held together with all the stars, and the stars have their planets, and there is the movement of planets around and the rotation of the Earth and all of that. So it seems this invisible dark matter is the only way we can account for most of the gravity. If it wasn't there, then the planets would spiral off and disappear into interstellar space. So now we have 4% of the universe, which is matter, atomic. The rest is invisible, unknown, and possibly unknowable. Unknowable, because how do we interact with something that's not made of the same stuff as we are? Of that 4%, 99.99% is invisible interstellar dust, which we can't see. It's mostly, according to speculation, it's mostly invisible hydrogen and helium. So the visible universe with all the galaxies, and today, according to the latest science, there are 2 trillion galaxies, 2 trillion, and 700 sextillion stars, and trillions and trillions and trillions of planets. All of that is 0.01%. 0.01%. The rest is unknown, or possibly unknowable. Now here's the problem. The 0.01% of the universe, which is made of atoms, you say, what are atoms made of? Atoms are made of particles. What are particles? Smaller particles. And actually, if you read the most profound statements on particles, people like Leonard Susskind, who's written books on the nature of atoms and electrons and particles, he says, you cannot experience these particles, you can't even think of them in visual terms. They are mathematical abstractions. They are modes of thinking. They are modes of thinking, mathematical thinking. But if particles are not being observed, and if they are not interacting with other particles, they disappear. And what did they disappear into? They disappear into waves. They disappear into waves. And unlike particles, which have a location in space-time, that have units of mass and energy, particles have no location in space or time. And if you ask scientists, what are these waves made of? Because everything is supposedly made of something. Like if you see the ocean, the waves are made of water. The waves that are carrying sound from here to your ears are made of air. So what are the waves that make the universe made of? And the best answer you'll get is they're made of possibilities. So where do these possibilities exist? And the best answer you'll get is they exist in some mathematical space called Hilbert space. Then you ask scientists, what is Hilbert space? Of course, Hilbert is the name of a mathematician. So, but what is it? It's an infinitely dimensional, multi-dimensional space of infinite possibilities. Where is it? The best answer is, shut up and calculate. Okay, so now to summarize, the #1 open question in science, what is the universe made of? The answer is, it's made of nothing. The universe is made of nothing. So then, of course, the second question is, if it's made of nothing, why does it look like this? Like those flowers, like your body. Why does it look like this room? Why does it look like the Milky Way galaxy? How does nothing look like everything? That's the first open question in science. The second open question in science is, how do we experience reality? Okay, so you would think this is a very simple question, that we experience reality through our brain. If you knock somebody on the head, they stop experiencing reality. If you give them anesthesia, they stop experiencing reality. If they are dead, we think they are not experiencing reality. So how do we experience what we call reality? And this is called the hard problem of consciousness. So look at these flowers, or look at my red shoes, and what's coming to your eyes right now is invisible photons. These photons have no dimensionality. They are massless. They have no mass. They have no color. Otherwise, you'd see. They strike your eyes. They go from your eyes to your retina, where they cause an electrochemical reaction. And then from there, they send an electrical signal to your brain. In your brain, there's electrochemistry. And suddenly, you see this. You see these flowers. How does that happen? No one knows. It's called the hard problem of consciousness. So we do not have any idea how any signal going from our senses to the brain, any signal, whether it's from your ears or taste or smell or touch, the signal that goes to your brain is an electrical signal. What happens in your brain is chemistry. But what you experience is this. You experience human beings, you experience buildings, you experience automobiles, and you experience jet planes, and you experience the galaxy, you experience the ocean, the mountains. How does an electrical signal in the brain give you that experience? Do not know. Hard problem. So we have no idea of how we experience what we call physical reality. Then we have to question, is the world that we see the world as it looks to us? Would the world look the same to an insect with 100 eyes? What does the world look like to a dolphin? What does the world look like to a bat? What does the world look like to another species? What about touch? What goes to your brain is an electrical signal. See, when you touch this, what goes to your brain is an electrical signal. So we don't know how we experience physical reality. Nor do we know how we experience mental reality. So if I ask you right now, and try this, think of your house. Can you see a picture? Yes? Where is the picture? There's no picture in the brain. Think of a beautiful sunset on the ocean. Yes? Can see a picture? No picture in the brain. Think of your favorite song right now. Think of your mother speaking to you. Think of someone you love. We cannot explain that either. Because when you look inside the brain, only chemicals. How do those chemicals produce a thought, or an image, or a sensation, or an emotion? Don't know. Are you experiencing me in the brain? You know, when we say, what's the most common word we use in any language? Anyone? The most common word? I. So if I ask you, where are you? You'll usually say, I'm here, right? Where are you? Where am I? So I is somewhere here, you is somewhere there. Let's examine this a little bit. When you're looking at me, photons are coming to your eyes. They go through your eyes, they go through the lens, they get inverted. Your retina is curved. Your eyes are 9 centimeters apart from each other. By the time the photons get to your eyes, if you were seeing me in your eyes, you should see 2 of me upside down and curved. So the experience of seeing me is not happening in your eyes. Then people say, oh, well, it's happening in the brain. So how do I fit inside your brain? Your brain is 10 centimeters by 7 centimeters by 14 centimeters. How does this room fit inside your brain? And furthermore, I cannot be found in the brain. So again, if I is somewhere here, where is it? We have a huge problem in today's science, a huge crisis in today's science. First of all, the universe is made of nothing, but I, which is experiencing the universe, is also made of nothing. How does nothing interacting with nothing become everything? Because consciousness also has no form. You can't see consciousness, but without it, you wouldn't be able to see. You can't touch consciousness, but without it, you would have no experience of touch. You can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't hear it, but without it, none of these experiences would occur. So let's explore if we can think of this whole thing in a slightly different way. Okay, in a slightly different way. So let me ask somebody, Daron, what is this? Flower. Okay, so now I'll tell you why that is a human construct. Let's say if you were a baby and you had never heard the word flower. Nobody had ever used that word. Then what would you experience? Huh? He says that. Yeah, probably. But I think what we can say is you would experience some form, vaguely. You would experience color. You wouldn't know the name of the color. You would experience a shape. So this experience, without labeling it, is a mode of seeing. The mode of seeing is in turn dependent of an awareness, a witnessing awareness that does the seeing. And that mode of seeing then is labeled through programming, human programming, flower. But all it is a shape and a color. Okay, and if we were asked, who are you listening to right now? Deepak. It's a human construct, right? If you were a baby, just a noise. Okay. You could taste it, you could smell it, you could touch it. What you would be experiencing are sensations, images, some feeling. For a baby, joy. Okay, no construct yet. Joy. And wow. But then, of course, we say, this is a flower, and you're Doron. And your name is Lipstein. You come from such and such family. You're Israeli. And this is a flower. And now for the rest of your life, you're defending an identity that you had nothing to do with. What were you before that? You were infinite possibilities. You were the raw material of the universe. The raw material, I explained to you just now, okay? I explained. So, come back to what we started from. What's the universe made of? infinite possibilities. Nothing is everything. What are you made of? Infinite possibilities. And what have we sacrificed for that is a limited identity. The universe is made of pure potential. That's it. The universe is made of pure potentiality. The universe is infinite possibilities. The universe is the immeasurable potential of all that was, all that is, and all that will ever be. And you are that. Because your ground state is the ground state of the universe. There can only be one ground state. Okay? After that, it's human construct. It's human construct. Now let me elaborate that, okay? Even more. You are not your mind. Your mind is an activity in you. A thought. Where is the thought before it comes? Where does the thought go after you've had it? Where are yesterday's thoughts? Where are this morning's thoughts? Where are the thoughts you had 5 minutes ago? Gone, right? Where did they come from? Where did they go after you had them? What about emotions? Where are yesterday's emotions? You say they're my emotions, but where are they now from yesterday? Where are yesterday's perceptions? Where are the perceptions that you had before you came to this room? You say, okay, what about my body? Well, your body is an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. How do you know you have a body? You experience it in the same way as you experience this microphone. How do you experience your thoughts? In the same way as you experience the sunset. Right? If you say you're your body, then which one? You'd had a different body when you were a teenager. You had a different body 2 years ago. In fact, 98% of all the atoms in your body today are not the ones that you had even 1 year ago. I like to joke with Doron. The last time I came to Israel, I brought the same suitcase, but not the same body. Okay? Because the body is also recycling with earth and water and sky. You cannot be your body, because the body is an object of experience, just like this microphone is an object of experience. You cannot be your mind, because your mind is an object of experience. All objects of experience are modes of human knowing. And human knowing is in an awareness which is prior to thought, which is prior to perception, which is prior to any construct. Constructs are stories that we have recycled for thousands of years. Okay, so now, if you're not your body, if you're not your mind, if you're not your ego identity, because that too is evolving, then who or what is the real you? Who or what is the real you? So what I'd like to do right now is ask you to do something very simple. As you're listening to me right now, just turn your attention to who's listening. Be aware of who is listening. And the awareness that you experience right now is who you are. It's not your mind, which might be saying, I wish I'd gone to the bathroom before the lecture, or some thought. A thought is a modification of yourself. It's a modification of your being. It arises from you, it subsides in you. Similarly, an emotion is arising from you and subsiding in you. Similarly, a perception in the form of a sound or a taste or a smell or a texture or a color or a shape is arising and subsiding in you. So here's the first radical shift that we need if we want to know what reality is. Otherwise, repeat the same story. Okay, if you want to know what reality is, then you are not in the body is in you. You're not in the mind is in you. You're not in the universe is in you. Mind, body, and universe are sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts that are fluctuations, excitations of your own consciousness. And where is consciousness? Is the wrong question. Because where implies a location in space and a moment in time to something that doesn't occupy space and doesn't exist in time. That is why the great wisdom traditions call this the Holy Spirit, or the Ein Sof, or Brahman, or the soul, or the fundamental level of being, which is not in time, but experiences time, which is not in space, but experiences space. So what is experience? Experience is excitations of being as feelings, sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, out of which we construct the idea of body, mind, and universe. A human construct. A human construct. So let me try and get this a little deeper with you right now. I'm going to ask you, are you aware? There are 4,000 people here, and of course I hope you're all aware and not sleeping. So when I say, are you aware, would you please all say yes? Okay? Are you aware? Once more. Are you aware? Okay, now, they finally got the slides. Please don't touch those slides. Okay. So, no, they have them here. Okay, so, are you aware? Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question, but this time, don't say yes till I raise my hand. Agreed? Yes? Are you aware? Try it once more. Are you aware? So, are you aware is a thought. Yes is a thought. Between this thought and the next thought is you. And that you is infinite possibilities. That you is infinitely creative. That you is connected with all the universe. That you is truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, and evolution. That you is love, compassion, joy, empathy, and no death. Why? Because you is not in time. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the same question now. Please don't answer it, just slip into being. Are you aware? Being is who we are. Not thought, not feeling, not perception, being. Thought is experience. Perception is experience. feeling is experience. But being is the ground state of existence. It's actually your soul, which is connected to the source of the universe. God, Ein Sof, Yetzirah, Brahman, God, doesn't matter what we call the name, but the real you is not in time. What is in time is experience. And experience of the past is gone, right? Yesterday is gone. The future is not here. What about now? Well, now is so transient you can't grasp it. By the time I get to the end of my sentence, the beginning of the sentence is gone. So you cannot grasp the past, you cannot grasp the future, and you cannot grasp the present. Because the present is over as soon as it starts. That's why the German philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, he said, our life is a dream, we are asleep. But once in a while, we wake up enough to know that we are dreaming. What do we wake up to? We wake up to the presence in which the dream is happening. And the presence is always now. Now, not as a moment in time, but now as the eternal presence of being, which is not in time. That's why if you read ancient texts, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, when he talks about the soul, and it's there in the Kabbalah, it's there everywhere, that the soul is not in time. Only its experiences are in time. It takes the journey, cosmic journey, in time through experience. So if you read in the Upanishads, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, weapons cannot shatter it, fire cannot burn it. It is eternal. It is not subject to birth, and it is not subject to death. Birth and death are experiences that are happening now. Every thought dies as soon as it's born. Every perception dies as soon as it's born. So again, if you look at all the causes of human suffering that have been identified from the time of Job to today, the causes of suffering is not knowing who you are. Confusing yourself with transient moments that arise and subside in your own being. The arising and subsiding of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. That's the first common cause of suffering, not knowing the true nature of reality. The second is grasping at something you cannot grasp. Can you grasp at your breath? Your breath arises and subsides. If you hold on to your breath, you'll suffocate. But you cannot grasp at a sensation or a thought or a perception either. Or your body, which is an intermittent experience of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So these are called kleshas in Sanskrit, the causes of human suffering. So you cannot grasp at that. The third cause is recoiling from impermanence, impermanence in time of experiences. The fourth is identifying with a hallucination called the ego. And the fifth is the fear of death. And everything we do is around these five causes, which are all social constructs. Because if you find out who you are, then you're free from these constructs. Okay, so what I'd like to do, if I may, I'm going to very quickly take you through a journey, since we do have the slides. Huh? No, video we don't need now. So here, this is, the beginning, right? This is the first story. God created the universe and is the source and origin of life and mind. And this goes on till what is called the European Enlightenment, where Isaac Newton, who's a biblical scholar and believes in the Bible, but he says, you know, God created the universe, but then he created the laws, and then after that, it runs like a machine. And then around this time, there were all these great thinkers. They also agreed, and you had the development of what is called Cartesian dualism. The mind and spirit are one realm, the physical body is another realm, and the physical world is another realm. Nobody believes that anymore, because if the mind and spirit and body are different than the body, then how do you do this? You start with a thought, and suddenly this happens. What is the energy that does that? So even though these laws are very useful in creating the industrial age and automobiles and airplanes, they don't tell us what is reality. Okay, so then you have Einstein, and Einstein comes up with two very fundamental laws: the theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, which describe basically E is equal to mc squared, the speed of light, gravity, and this is also works. This theory works, okay, even though it's an advancement on previous theories. But then something more dramatic happens. At this time, people realize space, time, energy, matter are the same thing, but then you have these people showing up, along with Einstein, who say these laws that we know about relativity and general gravity, they don't apply to the micro world, to the world where atoms and particles become waves of probability. Only probability can be measured. Nothing is fixed. It all exists in the field of infinite possibilities. And then, you know, if you look at Wikipedia and you look at the internet, you find that, okay, so what does quantum mechanics really mean? And you find 25 interpretations, which means if there are 25 interpretations, nobody knows what's going on, even though the calculations work. Remember, I started my lecture, shut up and calculate. Don't ask these questions. So none of this explains what we call experience. None of this. And there are now so many theories: eternal inflation, superstring, multi-worlds, multiverse, M theory. There is no understanding at all at this moment of the 0.01% that we call reality. The rest is invisible. And even the 0.01%, if you're not observing it, it is invisible. Okay, so today, many scientists are asking, are we living in a conscious universe? Is, in fact, the universe consciousness experienced as physical reality? Because consciousness is formless, but it appears as form. And this has led many, many, many new scientists to say the constants of nature are such that we are not here by accident. It's impossible. This is called the fine-tuning of the universe. If it was off by a single decimal point, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But not only that you are the universe, it is the universe, the consciousness of the universe is not creating the universe, it is becoming the universe. Through you, through your soul. Your soul, as Rumi, in the beautiful poem, he says, you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're the ocean in the drop as well. So the divine in you is the divine in me, which is the divine that is becoming the universe. Okay, so the Sanskrit word for that is Brahman. The word Brahman means universal consciousness. Brahman means universe. Of course, you are familiar with Ein Sof is the same thing as Brahman. And that's a beautiful expression, Tattvamasi. I am that, you are that, all this is that, and that's all there is. There is consciousness that has taken the form of mind, body, and universe. And we are a particular species of consciousness that we create reality through constructs around very fundamental excitations of consciousness. So what you and I are experiencing is a human universe, not a dolphin universe, not a crocodile universe, not the universe of an insect with 100 eyes, but we still have what we call transpersonal leakage. So you can have a relationship with your dog, even though the dog doesn't know that it's called a dog by you. Okay? I was just watching a video of Obama the other day with his dog, Bo, and I realized that Bo has no idea that he's sitting in the Oval Office. Okay? But they have a relationship. And what's the relationship? Love, compassion, joy, even respect. Because if Obama doesn't treat his dog with respect, the dog will not treat Obama with respect. You know, dogs have feelings, as do all living beings. But they're a little different from human beings. If you kick your dog, the dog might remember a strange dog, and then 5 years later, if you meet the dog, it will attack you. But unlike a human being, it will not plan for 5 years how to get even, how to get retribution. And every conflict we have today is because of a memory, which is gone. It doesn't exist. So everyday reality is a human construct. Fundamental reality is the awareness, the excitations of which are the experience of both the observer, the observed, in the timeless moment of now. The fundamental experience of both observer and observed is sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So if you want to remember this, the acronym is SIFT, S-I-F-T. All experience is that. There's no other experience outside of this. This is the raw material which we use to create both the experience of our body and our thought. So of course we have so many systems of thought: religious, political, scientific, economic, political, mythological. They're systems of thought without asking the question, where does thought come from? If you don't know what thought comes from, then how can you rely on a system of thought? And where does thought come from? It comes from your being. And if you go to the level of your being, then you'll realize that you can deconstruct what you call reality and start from the beginning. And when you start from the beginning, you start with sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. That's it. And excitations of these are in time, but your awareness is not in time. And with this, you realize that even birth, death, body, mind, brain, universe, the common concept of God, God cannot be defined, because if you define God, you limit God. If God is infinite, then you cannot define God. Stars, galaxies, Big Bang, anything that has been given a name by humans, itself a label, are constructs. That's why, you know, when you read in the Bible, first there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh. It's true. Without the Word, it was all possibilities. Okay, so you want to deconstruct reality, go to the source, and then freedom lies in the experience of identity beyond constructs. Pure awareness, pure consciousness, prior to subject-object split. What is subject-object split? Me and God. Me and the universe. But actually, reality is one. And if reality is one, then when we become attached to constructs, we realize that we have confused ourselves for our own constructs. And freedom is now in being. And in being is infinite possibilities. In being is infinite freedom. In being is infinite creativity. In being is the raw material for all experience, the way we want to become alchemists of our own sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. In being is evolution. In being is our connection to that which we call God, but we cannot define God if God is all possibilities, if God is infinite potential. We have sacrificed our soul, for an illusion. So again, if you read the Bible, you'll come to a beautiful statement. What good does it do a man to gain the whole world but sacrifice his soul? And what I'd like to do is just one or two principles, and then I'll stop. You know, science is materialistic. We accept as a given the physical universe. But if the physical universe is made out of nothing, then science now has a problem. All those things I showed you, from the beginning, through Newtonian physics, through relativity physics, through grand unification, which has not happened, through quantum mechanics, none of that can explain who we are. Why do we think? Why do we want to know who we are? What is the meaning of our existence? What is the meaning of death? If God exists, why should God care about you and me? Well, because God is manifesting through you and me as this universe, as the stars, the galaxies. You see, stars are out there in the distant sky. 2 trillion, 700 sextillion stars, 2 trillion galaxies, trillions of planets. Guess what? They are sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts in your own being, as is your body. So I'll conclude. You are not in the body is in you. You're not in the mind is in you. You are not in the universe is in you. You are manifesting the universe. So when I say you are the universe, it's literal. It's not metaphorical at all. The body is an intermittent stream of excitations in your own being. This has huge practical values. Huge practical values, because when you understand that what is the raw material of creation, it's your soul. You have to just remember your being. You know, remember, to bring together that which was dismembered. And what was dismembered was the memory of wholeness. The word holy, the word wholeness, the word health, and the word healing are the same word. And healing is the memory of the return of wholeness. Healing is holy. And when we are holy, we are healed, because we have come back to our source. You know, you've heard T.S. Eliot's poem, "We shall not cease from exploration," and the end of our exploring is to arrive where we started from and know the place for the first time.